13th, 2024. Shall we have our roll call?
Commissioner Baker? Commissioner Barath? Commissioner Hester? Here.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Or off, yeah.
Laura, okay, yes, I'm
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Keen?
Here.
Commissioner Moore? Commissioner Rooney?
Here.
Chairman Waverly?
Here. I don't think your mic was on, maybe, Emily. Is that?
Maybe I'll move it a little closer.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. No public comment, large audience tonight. How about our minutes from our November 14th meeting? Do we have any comments or corrections to the minutes? I just have one, I'm sorry, my name was just misspelled. We can just correct it in the last other business discussion items under the quarterly commission meetings in section A, fourth line down. After conferring with Chairman Waverly, it should be L-E-Y at the end. But the rest of it looked pretty good. Any other changes? No? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second?
Commissioner Barath?
Aye.
Commissioner Hester?
Aye.
Commissioner Keen?
Yes.
Chairman Waverly?
Yes.
Commissioner Rooney?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to item number 5, our liaison report for the Gateway Recreation.
Yeah, we got some updates here for you guys. Gateway, as you know, consists of 9-member communities and contracts with Ray Graham Association to provide inclusion services for residents with disabilities. In anticipation of Gateway's current service provider expiring on June 30th of 2024, the Gateway Recreation Association Board, which the village has a voting member, myself, on it, decided to put out an RFP to see if there were other service providers available for the community. 2 providers did put their name in for the RFP, one being Ray Graham Association and one being the Oak Brook Park District. Upon talking with users of these services and given there was no significant budget impact, the village did vote in favor of remaining with Ray Graham Association on December 14th, and that vote was unanimous among the 9 other member agencies. So we're going to be in a contract with them for the foreseeable future. I personally want to say Ray Graham's done wonderful things, and as you can see from the reports that they provide us, actually 2 months of reports in here, Hinsdale's participation in programs in fall of 2023, we had 143 participants. That is the second highest out of the 9-member associations that takes advantage of Special Rec Association services. Also, a little update on the SRA. I just got off the phone with them. We will be working with them to provide areas for their summer day camps, as always this summer, and we will be working with them for field usage as the village has helped them for years upon years. So we look forward to keeping the partnership and working together.
Are those the fields at Burns, or are there other fields that they use as well?
They use VEC because it's lighted, so they'll go out there at nighttime. Burns, they use the warming hut for their day camp.
Okay. And how long is the new contract for?
It's 2 years.
It is.
So
okay.
every 2 years, the association will either elect to go out for an RFP or just renew the contract. The problem is there's not very many special rec service providers in the area. So it's really a unique service. So this is the first time, I think they said, excuse me, in 20 years that someone else has actually
Well, I was
put in a bid on this.
interested. So what was the discussion in that it was unanimous, not in favor of Oak Brook? Was Oak Brook disappointed? Is this
No,
a
it was-
money-making?
No, Oak Brook would have done a phenomenal job, but they were new to it. They didn't have anybody that was experienced with special rec needs, and looking in the eyes of someone that has special needs, it's really hard to transition them to something new.
Right, I read that.
So we thought it was in the best interest of all the users to not break tradition, not break who they're used to, what they're used to, and to keep maintaining something that's working. And it was working. So Kudos to Oak Brook for wanting to try and offer their facilities, but this model worked best for the 9 agencies.
So don't we work with the Village of Oak Brook now? I mean, the Ray Graham buses are always there.
So the 9,
Would the Oak Brook residents split away from the Ray Graham and go on their own, or
I
what?
mean, anybody can split away from Ray Graham with giving notice. It's an extensive notice. I think it's like 15 or 18 months. I'd have to look at the bylaws. But we do work with Oak Brook, the Park District of Oak Brook, and all the other 7 communities as far as programming space. Oak Brook having the largest community center, a lot of the Special Rec Association programming is done with them.
How are the fee allocations determined? I know there was a reference with the C-SPAR example of a assessed value. Is that how our?
It's a very difficult math to explain. I'd be happy to type it up and share it with the commission. I want to make sure I say it accurately. I actually had to go back and forth several times to figure out the math myself, but it is, we pay not the highest. Elmhurst pays the highest, but I can definitely type that up and share it.
But it sounds like it's not a function of utilization.
It's
I
not.
mean, we're one of the highest users, but not necessarily the highest payers. It has something to do with our tax base or our land area or something.
I do believe, and I have to pull the bylaws, I might have stated it in this memo here somewhere. I do believe it has to do with, yes, the tax base off of the community, and then it's divided by, or multiplied by the amount of the budget, overall budget, and then that is divided again by the amount of participants, that average amount of participants. It's a very unique system. I will tell you, it works in our favor.
Yeah.
Because if you looked at, like, we for giggles looked at going to C-SPAR, and that was a hard math to figure out too, but our fees like doubled by looking to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I don't need to know the exact calculation. I was mostly curious, and it did seem just, superficially like we're getting a pretty reasonable deal.
Don't tell anybody.
Any other questions or on the Ray Graham update?
No? Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our monthly reports. The annual pool report, quite a document.
Yes, so we have quite a document here, and I kind of gone through my report and highlighted some areas I want to touch base on, and if I skip something, please ask a question.
Yeah, no,
by
we'd love
any
to hear your
means.
summary.
Starting in the beginning, the 2023 season was a great success. We saw increase in neighborhood network memberships. Aquatic programming was in line with 2022 levels. We did accept fewer private lessons. Town Team continues to be a popular program, and all this goes into further detail as we go through the report. Many of the pool's popular discount days continued this year. Our annual survey was continued to send out to the members in 2023. Member feedback was great, especially around the cleanliness of the pool and the locker rooms. This year also included a new third-party concession vendor and a series of facility projects. Due to COVID, the annual report does include data that compares several of the last few years because it's really hard to get that snapshot. This report also includes pool revenue and pool expense information, and overall highlights wages and operations. So going into that, we did include an estimated year-end budget, and the reason I say, estimated actuals. And the reason I say it's estimated is we have not done the village audit yet. And if you have questions on this, Carrie can definitely jump in too. But overall, the pool did extremely well this year. Our revenue did increase with non-resident pool passes, and our swim team, and in miscellaneous pool rentals. The non-resident reason for that increase in that is we expanded our outreach to the neighboring networks. So we advertised more, we marketed more to Westmont, Clarendon Hills, LaGrange, Brookfield, and the word got out there a lot. Rentals is really based off of the swim teams. Lions Swim Club, they rented a tremendous amount from us, and anytime we could get a pool rental in there in the evening, we took advantage of it. And then the swim team, since COVID, it's just really been growing and keeps expanding. And even this year, I think it's going to expand even more. Areas of decreases focused on the daily fees and 10 punch passes. This is really reflective off of the weather. And resident passes also decreased by 89%. And while I can't say 100% why they decreased, one of the theories is maybe more homes in the area putting in pools, but it was a small decrease. It was like a 1% decrease.
It was just 89 passes,
89.
not 89%.
89 passes. So 89 passes. So a pass could consist of a family of 6. So that's 6 passes right there. So we're talking very, very minor, but it's still it's something to note.
Can you, I don't know if you were going to say this later, but in terms of expanding the neighborly rate to other communities, you're going to talk about that later.
No, sorry, I was choking. We did look into that, so we expanded it to Darien this year. The problem behind it is we don't want to expand it too far, because at some point, I don't want people from Aurora, could come into our pool. So we're really taking that model like what LaGrange does and focusing on the same neighbor communities of who they offer and what Brookfield offers and Clarendon Hills and et cetera, and trying to stay in line with our surrounding suburbs here.
So it includes,
So run through those again one more time. So it's Westmont and,
Give us 1 second. He was going to pull up the brochure here and we'll tell you exactly who's in it.
okay, thanks.
While he's pulling that up, our private lessons, this is something interesting that we noted. So in 2018, you can see our private lessons brought in around $6,000 to $8,000 of revenue and also had lower numbers. But in 2020 and 21, we saw a massive spike in private lessons, which was completely COVID driven. Many facilities were not open, especially private swim clubs, and those facilities that were open just saw a huge influx of
And offer group lessons, right? It was
private.
only private.
Only private.
Right,
We didn't
so
offer
everyone
group.
that was in a group kind of, and all those hours of groups became
Correct.
privates, right? Right.
Correct.
I recall that.
So looking this year, the number jumped off at us a little bit. We're like, oh man, we really, really came down on privates. But looking historically, we are in trend with what we were with pre-COVID. This doesn't mean though that it's not an opportunity, and that is something that we're going to be looking at going forward and evaluating how we can further enhance our private lessons. And not sure quite what that looks like, but once we get our team onboarded and meet with our private lesson staff, we're going to try to expand it further and figure out how to not have so many people on a wait list and how to keep it going and growing.
Mike, how
I've
can,
got a
oh, I'm
question.
sorry, we all
I'm
have
sorry.
questions on this. All right, yep.
Like, I have a question. I'm looking at your operating profit loss. Obviously, steep declines 21, 22, and then 23 with a little less than 26,000 there in profitability. And then I went through each line item trying to understand, what might have been driving that, and I see a couple of them. Chemicals, I can probably attribute to the increasing price in chemicals, but then you've got general equipment and maintenance at 37,061.
Yeah,
And there's not it doesn't look like it was attributed to any cost centers, the previous couple of years. So
The next page here actually goes over all the expenses,
okay,
which is going to cover most of those questions.
okay. Yeah, on that note, because I see 37,023, thinking okay, it might be cyclical because there wasn't anything big in 21 or 22 per that line item, but then there's 27,000 for 24 estimated, so there's still more to be done on this. I didn't know if this one in 2023 was like a one-time thing where it covers you for 1 or 2 years. This is just going to be ongoing.
Yeah, we really explain this in great detail of how that's changed and what's structured in there.
Okay.
In this next part of the report.
Okay,
I
great.
think it'll answer your question completely.
Okay, one other question.
Sure.
I've read a lot about the pool over at Clarendon Hills.
Oh, yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're gonna get there. Should
Okay.
we go, let's go through our report.
Okay.
I have an update on that too.
Because I think
Okay.
that's a whole nother
All right,
discussion.
fine.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We'll definitely bring that up.
I did have just a comment about the private lessons or question, if this is the time
Sure.
for that. So as far as trying to accommodate all the private lessons, I think that this year, if I'm not mistaken, the private lessons you could not teach private lessons during the group lesson time, I don't believe, or no. When were you allowed to teach private lessons? Like, when could you?
Private lessons were allowed to teach at any time. It was based on the staff's availability and schedules. The problem this year was getting the staff to want to do the private lessons.
Right.
And it's been a struggle in the past. If you go back and look at previous aquatic reports, the same comments actually been made several times over and over. So this year we have to find a way to really drill down into the staff that this is an opportunity. It's more revenue for them. It's flexibility around their own schedule. So I think it's just really stemmed off of we have to communicate and make sure we're giving them the accurate information and giving them information timely.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if, from my own experience, if I felt like there was a time where you weren't originally supposed to teach lessons maybe during the open swim time. Like in the past, you could teach privates anytime.
We allowed it
Okay.
anytime in the pool.
Okay, good.
But it was a schedule. It was more of a scheduling issue,
Yes.
is what it really
Yes.
boiled down to.
The other thing is that, and I know, times are different, of course, but it used to sort of be part of the job, right? That if you're lifeguarding, teaching swim lessons is a part of the job. And I know times are different, and so some people say, well, I'm not teaching. I'm not going to work here then because I'm not teaching lessons. So it's sort of finding that
Yeah,
balance.
and we had great turnout for our group lessons too. I mean,
Okay.
staff wanted to teach the group
Okay,
lessons.
good.
I think I don't know what it was with our exact pool, but it really stemmed down to finding a time that worked for the private person and finding a time that worked for the staff's availability, and it
Okay.
really turned into just a scheduling
Okay,
finagle. Now, I know this year we do have our pool coordinator, Christine. She is coming back,
Good.
and one of her roles is specifically going to focus on offering one-on-one private lessons herself personally over the weekends. So, and she didn't do that last year.
okay.
So that's going to be one of her main tasks, and running all the swim lessons again. So having that out there is going to help seeing that dedicated person.
Great.
Some of the other issues that can come up with is, say you have a lifeguard that's teaching swim lessons, if they're teaching 2 hours of swim lessons and that's getting them close to their hours, they then can't pick up that 5-hour shift. So that tends to also be where he was saying like a scheduling issue. If they want to take a 5-hour shift to make more money, but they're teaching 2 hours of swim lessons and that's going to put them over for the week, they're going to defer to taking the more hours to make the more money as opposed to.
Is there a certain number of hours they can work a week?
39 hours a week.
Okay,
So not all the staff hit that, but you have your handful of dedicated lifeguards and cashiers that want to work and get money for the summer.
right. Okay.
In terms of just sort of, if our focus was maximizing revenues, which I'm not saying it necessarily is, are there certain programs, whether that's group lessons or private lessons or swim team rentals, that are more lucrative than others?
Yeah, I mean, one thing you got to remember about our pool is it is a very, very busy pool. We open at 5:30 in the morning and we go till 9:30, sometimes cases 10 o'clock at night. And in that whole time slot, we have agreements with one starting with Hinsdale Swim Club, which does bring in money for the village. And then we open to the public and in between there and try to offer programs while not impacting the public usage. And then at nighttime, we close down and do rentals. Now, to answer your question, what brought in a lot of money is those rentals at nighttime. It's very limited staffing. I could run it with very, very, very small amount of staff. Your overhead goes way down, and they pay $38 a lane per hour. So when we're running those private rentals in an 8-lane pool between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, it adds up. And last year, we even added in the dive well. Water polo team wanted to come in there and start practicing. But that's where it really brings us out and about. Now, swim lessons, they make money. The swim team makes money, but nothing compared to the rentals.
And that's sort of where I'm going. I know we're trying to, sort of balance the needs of the community, but would we, want to do more swim team rentals if we could, and less group lessons or private lessons?
When we do the lessons, the pool's open already for the public, so there's no impact, and we already have the staffing there, and that's how we bring down our overhead. So we have staff that are on break. The baby pool's already open. We don't do any programming when the pool is closed. essentially. It is always open. We might shut down sections of the pool to do some of the programming, but typically we're starting our day then.
And Mike, those rentals in the evening are simply swim clubs, correct? That's not a birthday party, that's not a,
I did 3 private rentals last year. One was for Madison School, one was for Jefferson School, and one was just a graduation party. And they were there from like 7 to 9 p.m. I try to really stick away from the private rentals because I want to bring in DJs, and there's a lot of kids, and we have houses there to respect. With the swim clubs, it's easier. They're quiet. They know how to be in and out of the water and respect the neighbors. So to answer your question, dominantly all
got it.
swim clubs.
Yep, that makes sense. And then just a quick question, so that, just help me understand this group lessons chart down at the bottom of page 4 here.
So this is private lessons, not groups.
So I apologize, private lessons, that's what I meant, my mistake. Is this saying that nobody this year purchased one private lesson, that they bought them in packs of 5 and packs of 10? Is that what that's saying?
That's all we offered
Okay,
this year.
so I couldn't do a set of 3 lessons. I had to do 5 or I had to do 10.
Correct. Todd can actually touch base on that. He's switching how it's going to set up this year.
Well, after looking at this, in the past, I've done sets of 3 lessons, sets of 6 lessons. Looking back at what has been done previously, it's actually the 10 and 15 that actually has been selling, or that people are purchasing more. They don't want the 1 lesson or the 3 lessons. So we're going back. Last year, we didn't offer that 15 pack. We're actually going to start offering that again this year. So we'll offer, you can get 5 lessons, 10 lessons, or 15 lessons as a group, instead of just the 2 options that were offered in the past.
And is there a price break for you if you purchase 15 versus 10?
Yes, it's
It's like
a couple
$5
dollars per.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, I
per-
just, and so
per pack.
typically, does that student stay with the same instructor throughout? So they set up their schedule and it's kind of a summer long, they do their lessons?
Correct.
Okay.
And I have seen some instructors based in the past, so if it's a half an hour lesson, I've seen parents go, I want to do an hour lesson to get them out of the way. So instead of doing 10 half an hour lessons, they'll do 5 1-hour lessons. So they're still paying for the same amount, they just kind of cram them together, makes it a little bit more efficient.
One of
That helps.
the reasons they got rid of the 10 pack and 15 pack here was we didn't have a great way to track it, and now we do. Before they were doing it on paper passes and hole punching. Now we actually have it run through our registration system as like a punch card. So when you do a private lesson, you have to swipe. It takes a punch off. It's all electronically tracked. So when someone comes, how many lessons do I have left? We know. And then we're not refunding back wrong numbers and et cetera.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Sorry for the interruption. Keep going with your report. We have so many questions. Would you rather we just wait till the end? Do you just want to get through your highlights?
No, it's okay.
Okay,
If there's something I know that's coming in the report, I'll let you guys know.
okay.
And just to jump back in, so the neighborly rates apply to residents of Brookfield, Burr Ridge, Countryside, Clarendon Hills, Darien, Downers Grove, Gulfview Hills, Indian Head Park, LaGrange Highlands, LaGrange Park, Oak Brook, Western Springs, Westmont, and Willowbrook.
Holy cow, that's that's so much more
When
than we
did we
used to
add
have.
all those? That's a lot.
We've added a ton.
Yeah, I don't know. Only one that I know that's been added since my 10 years, Darien.
Yeah, no, I remember way back when. Okay, so I'm showing my age on this commission, but
What percentage of the passes are non-Hinsdale?
A lot. I mean, our neighboring networks support our pool.
Seems like a long way to come from Brookfield to go.
well, and
There's
we
no
used to
pool.
not like Oak Brook. We wouldn't go to the communities that had their own pool. I remember we would specifically target neighborhoods that didn't have a pool. So
Yeah,
it's
the-
interesting that
Oak Brook's the only one that we partner with, and Clarendon Hills, that does have a pool. Part of the reason Oak Brook is their Star Guard. We're Star Guard. We joint train necessarily together. Sometimes we'll do pool swaps together. So they'll have a swim meet, we'll have a swim meet. So our members can go over there, their members can come here. It's turned into a really nice partnership. And it gives us that flexibility of having guards that are trained the same way at both facilities.
okay.
All right, I'm gonna go
Thank
on
you for
through
that.
the expenses here. So through some operational adjustments, mainly reducing staffing during poor weather did help reduce our cost by more than $30,000. However, there are some other areas that I want to go over that we did see an increase in expenses, one of them being custodial services. This year was added into the budget based on the feedback from the survey in 2022 to help enhance cleanliness in the locker rooms. I'm not saying that the staff are not cleaning, they are cleaning and they're still walking through, but by having that service come through after a busy weekend and prior to a start of a weekend has really tremendously helped. So yes, that was definitely an added cost into the budget. Permits, which refers to guard certifications in our budget. It's not necessarily referring to state permits, but in our case, guard certifications falls under there. This is mainly reflected to the amount of staff training. Last year, we had a significant amount of new staff come in, but we also lost our LGIs, which stands for lifeguard instructor. So we had to bring on new LGIs, and they cost hundreds of dollars to train somebody to become an LGI to train your staff. So that was an unfortunate cost to us last year. This year, we're sitting in a decent space with it. We're probably near 60% returning rate of staff. They're coming in. We have 2 LGIs that are returning, and we only have to train 2. So we should see that number come down going into the 2024 budget. It also is reflective, once again, of how many staff come in. And every year that's going to fluctuate a little bit. Chemicals, this is an industry standard all over the place, and Todd can jump in on this too. The cost of chemicals has just gotten outrageous in the aquatic field, and it's really, you burn through more chemicals when it's really sunny and hot, because you're dumping more chlorine in the pool, you're dumping more acid in the pool, you're constantly trying to balance the water to maintain it appropriate state swimming levels. I know we are evaluating this. There are other companies we can use, such as Aquapure and Halogen, but no one fully has all their chemical numbers in yet, and we have to kind of vet if they can get us the chemicals on time. So like Hawkins, who we currently use, is on a routine schedule to us. They deliver it on time, Wednesday morning. I can count on it. We go with somebody like Aquapure. I know there's been times when we've been calling at other districts and we might not even get the chemicals for the weekend, and we're scrambling, driving around trying to find stuff. So that's gonna be something we're gonna dig into, but chemicals has just gotten outrageous for pools, and there's creative ways we can lower that cost. One of the ways is by putting cyanuric acid into your tanks. Cyanuric acid is a fancy word for saying sunscreen for water. So essentially, you put this in your tanks during the startup, and it helps build cyanuric in your pool, which helps stabilize your chlorine levels. So that's something we haven't done here in the past, and we're going to switch to that to try to help bring down some of those chemical costs. And there's other tricks we can do.
We're also, you did it briefly last year. There's a system called Easy Pool. It's a secondary disinfectant. Pretty much it's an oxidizer, allows your chlorine to work more efficient. So that's twofold. Yes, it is a cost, but by doing that, it's making the water cleaner, makes it clearer, and as well as makes your runoff liquid bleach run more efficient. So you're not using as much. So that is a system I've used in the last 10 years in aquatics, and has been a great product and has really watched our chemical costs drop because of it. The twofold is the more people you have using your facility, the more chemicals you're going to use as well. So the more people we have coming in, dirtier the pool gets, the more we're going to use.
And of course, these are completely safe and tested, like the
100%.
Oh,
sunscreen
yeah.
in the pools. We're not going to worry about people getting rashes in
Oh,
the
no,
pool.
no.
I mean,
All the chemicals are diluted before they're even put in. Even the small amounts, we talk about bleach and stuff like that. It's put in quarter-inch tube into a 12-inch pool line, so like a pen going into a tube this big.
We
So
have state requirements that we have to follow and maintain. So we have to know what the pH is, the alkalinity, the chlorine levels of the pool, and we have to test it up to 4 times a day. And if it fluctuates beyond our required operating levels, we have to close that body of water and fix it. Medical supplies. This was increased due to the replacement of facility rescue supplies. This included guard tubes, backboards, oxygen tanks, seal UZs that go over a mouth if you have to give respiration to somebody. These purchases do not occur annually. It was a large upfront cost last year to get some of the necessary rescue equipment. I know going forward, we're going to look at chunking that into smaller phases, so we're not doing huge purchases at once. We're maybe every year planning to buy 4 of something or 3 of something, so we have a constant inventory and rotation of supplies. And then the big one here, the general equipment budget. So this consists of annual ongoing maintenance and several one-time facility improvements not planned in the capital funds. Several aspects were addressed in 2023 out of this budget, which include repairs to the dive well fall pad, drain cover replacements in the pool, which is required by the state every 5 years, painting of the baby deck, mushroom and slide, and several other projects. And I kind of outlined down here, and I'm just going to read this. We said it's important to note that these expenses were not incurred in 2020 or 21 due to the recent completed pool renovations. However, in years prior to 2019, general equipment budget consisted of expenses between $2,500 and $8,200. The 2024 budget will include several projects which are funded from the general equipment budget. So yes, we're putting some more projects into this budget, and as the years go on, we'll see it maintain and not dip essentially as much.
So what are some of the, we got the 2023 projects. What are you planning for this year? Is that 27 on?
I will get to that on page,
Is it coming?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
at the
I
end.
remember if I had read
one
it.
of the pages.
Okay,
It's coming up.
okay, perfect.
I gotta save the good stuff for last.
Mike, just a real quick question, back to the custodial services. So you got a service in there this year. You were happy with the service this year?
Yeah, no,
And now
they,
we're gonna double it for next year?
we're not doubling the fee of the service. But we were very happy with them. They did a phenomenal job. They called when we called them. They were receptive. They came out. Out of the custodial line item, though, also includes cleaning supplies. So that fee, just to be clear, is not the custodial service. That will include cost of toilet paper, disinfectant for bathrooms, which also is another issue in the industry. It's been going up. I know last year we used Warehouse Direct just because it was convenient to be dropped off, but we are looking at using other vendors that can give us some pricing, maybe a little more competitive.
Okay. And so how often, is somebody coming in every day, a couple times a day? How often are the custodial
Twice a week.
services?
So the
Twice a
service
week.
comes in, last year it was 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. before we opened.
Oh, wow.
They clean
Okay.
the pool.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know that's been a perpetually, like, the cleanliness has been not great on the surveys year after year after year. So
And
that's nice that we're finally doing
it's
this.
still a challenge in the concession area, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll get there in that. Kind of going along with the expenses here, I did talk about some of the projects on, I think it's page 6, it's cut off, on page 6.
Oh, yeah.
So we did resurface the dive board rubber. I don't know if you guys seen it prior to that, but it was all cracked and falling apart. We removed some overgrown bushes, installed some sod to help with some more green space seating. The baby pool amenities were enhanced, which included, I talked about the slide, some painting, the mushroom, and then we did remove all the vines off of the pump room. That thing, it was covered full of vines last year, so we had a company come in and remove it to help with maintenance. They were actually growing inside the pump room, so we had to kind of pull it all apart. Installation of new chemical feeders, which is not appealing to most people, but those chemical feeders really control the amount of chemicals that go into the pools, and that's a crucial aspect of maintaining appropriate balancing levels. So those were slated to get replaced, and there's 3 of them. We don't have that in the budget going into this year. Several areas of deck caulking, which is a yearly thing. You have to do self-leveling deck caulk in places that chip up or have water issues, and then repairs of the starting blocks and swim platforms. And unfortunately, our starting blocks they're getting old. We were working with HSC on a plan to fix them and or replace them in the future, but we had to have a welder come out and repair almost all of them so they would fit into the sleeves safely and allow swimmers to lunge off of them without shaking, because before they were shaking so much that we had to put shims down to try to stabilize them. Pool pass, yes, I got mine out of order, so I'll make sure I'm the right one. So pool pass memberships,
Chris is gonna fix the temperature.
so pool pass memberships, between 2017 and 19, we sold between 804 and 900 total passes yearly. But going way in the future, you see some big, large jumps. The reason for the large jump was, we've already kind of talked about this, expanding our neighboring passes, but how we restructured the passes in the system, particularly the family passes. They were renamed and restructured in our registration system, which added an increase to the amount of passes being sold. So for an example, many years ago, you would have a family pass and you'd all just get that family pass and be issued. And now you get your primary person, and then you have your secondary, your additional, your next additional person, and it all classifies as a different category in our system. So that was a change that happened prior to me even getting here. I think it happened back in 2020. Hourly attendance, I thought this was interesting to share with you guys. This is only reflective of the 2023 season hourly attendance, but this is critical from our standpoint because it really helps when it is appropriate to increase staffing levels, reduce staffing levels, when the pool should be open, not be open, and this is things that we take into consideration before we close the pool for the day, or if we have to close the pool for part of the day and reopen during those peak times. So like if a rainstorm came in at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we know historically it trends down, we probably would cut our loss for the day, send the staff home. But if I wake up in the morning and it's raining till 9 to noon, I'm gonna call the staff in and be like, all right, we're gonna rock and roll starting at 1 o'clock for the day. And that's something that we're constantly observing, and it's not yearly, we're observing this daily and weekly, and we're pulling attendance reports. Programming enrollment, the junior group lessons and junior guard enrollment numbers were down from 2000, sorry, off my page. Visits by pass type. Pool usage was mainly driven from weather conditions, which we kind of talked about. Less resident passes were sold this year, but resident usage did increase. Neighboring passes sales increased, which we kind of talked about, and the neighbor family usage also did increase. All this is really directly related to the weather and more surrounding communities becoming aware. I think it's interesting data to look at, especially the dailies, because from year to year, you'll see those dailies spike and drop, and it really does dictate weather conditions, and if it was a cold year, if it was a sunny year. But all in all, we're really looking in line and from year to year.
So there were 3,400 or something times that a neighborly family pass was used this year.
Yes. And they physically came to the gate to the pool, handed it to our admission staff, and scanned it into our system.
Wow.
Group lessons and junior guard enrollment numbers are down from 2022, but are above 2021 levels. Based off of feedback and walking around the pool deck, we are actually offering, or going to be offering, Saturday morning group lessons right before the pool opens. A lot of families seemed to have a lot of commitments over the weekends with day camps, and it was hard to get to some of the group lesson times. So we're going to try to slot in some Saturday morning lessons and see if that helps with some of the feedback and increases group lesson enrollment. And we'll review that next year and see what that looks like.
Mike, I was going to say also with the group lessons, I think it's great that you have the aquatics coordinator. I think I've told you this before, but just an adult who's consistent, who is here and giving the expectations at the beginning of the season for the lifeguards, because so much of group lessons and how they're perceived in the community and the talk is, oh, they have really well-run group lessons at the Hinsdale Pool, so we want to, send our kids there. So that's
We
good.
have worked with Christine. Last year, she was there 90% of the time. This year, she's going to be here 100% of the time. So we've already got a commitment with her to be there during all those group lessons.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, just for the training, because some of the kids are not really they can swim and they've obviously passed lifeguarding, but there's a little bit of a hesitancy of how to do this. And as you know, there is a definite protocol to
Sure.
work through the lessons. And so if the kids know that, and so I think that's a really good thing.
Town team, Larry kind of talked about this, it continues to grow. This year, we did host a conference meet. It was at Hinsdale South due to Hinsdale Central repairs. We did not elect to hold it in our outdoor pool for 2 reasons. One, if it rains, we're up against, our backs are up against the wall of where to put it and what to do. And 2, upon conversations with the managers, we wanted not to shut down on weekends more than we had to for the community. And we already have to shut down for 4 days with the Hinsdale Swim Club meet. I was finding it really difficult to shut down the following weekend again for the town team meet. So we secured an outside pool. And we're going to do the same thing this year.
Are we hosting again?
We're hosting another Conference B this year.
I'm sorry, what?
We hosted Conference A last year, so
Oh,
we're
I
in
see.
Conference B this year. And then we have, I think it's like 4 years off or something.
The high schools charge us, I presume, right?
At Hinsdale schools, this year, I don't know how to answer that because Hinsdale Central and South are shutting down for renovation projects. So we're going to have to look at like Oak Brook, Westmont, or Downers or something.
Air filter, is that the air system?
Maybe, I don't know, the air
Oh,
filters
the
or
air
the
filters
tiling or
were not-
something.
Yeah.
I will say I have been in touch with Scott from Hinsdale Swim Club, and he has a lot of connections in this community. So he's trying to help us secure a gym space and hopefully can work some magic for us.
Okay.
Do you have the coaches, is Brian coming back for
Yeah,
the town? team?
yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Brian's coming back, and then we have another. He was a lifeguard last year. He was an assistant coach last year. He's being bumped up to a coach. And then Brian and I vetted a couple lifeguards that were on swim teams and were showing interest to be on as a swim coach. So we have 4 coaches this year. He feels great about the setup, and he thinks that we're going to have even a bigger team.
Great, that's great.
Special events, in 2023, we returned most of our popular events, including the Christmas in July, where Santa comes out in his Hawaiian shirt and swims pants. We continued the monthly Friday night, $5 Friday nights on Friday, Scout Family Night, Father's Day, Red, White, and Blue Day, and Grandparents' Day. Our Member Appreciation Day did not go well, and it was because of the weather. It was like 64 degrees. We still ran it. I think one family showed up. It was not very good, and that's kind of the risk that you have with these pool events. Going forward, we're going to kind of restructure the Family Appreciation Night. We might not necessarily call it that, but we're going to kind of throw something different in there to see if we can spice it up. I think we've just done it so much over and over again, it's getting a little stale. So we'll think of some new events. Concessions. So Ty's Treats was in this year. He was a Hinsdale resident. He actually worked for Sauced Pizza prior to coming over as Ty's Treats, which we felt comfortable with because he knew the facility, was ran out of the pool. It was a great relationship. Unfortunately, he's going away to college.
I
So
was
he
wondering why he
cannot
was going
work with us again this year. So the village did go out for RFP, and we did receive a new vendor to come in. We've already met with them a few times. They seem like they're going to work out great. And yeah, we're still in contacts and negotiations with them a little bit. But I think that hopefully this vendor, knock on wood, will stick around for a little bit. And
Do they service other pools as well?
they used to service Lamont. It was Lamont or Lockport pool. One of the other pools. They're one of our vendors for 4th of July, Fall Fest. Anytime we have special events, they're bringing out their food truck. I think that they're going to try to expand their service a little bit because they have that side window at the pool. So they have an Uber Eats account and a DoorDash account. So I think they're going to offer that to Hinsdale residents too out
very
of that
clever.
account.
Okay.
So a lot of new things coming with the vendor, and as we get more information going into future meetings, I'll share that with you and some updates.
Continuing with the flat fee, or what are you?
They elected to do a flat fee, and it's actually working out well for the village. Looking at it historically, with all the exception of 1 year, we've surpassed what the village share was back, and more importantly, we're not sitting there then and babysitting every single sale that they make. We're really hands off then.
So is it the 5,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Pool staff, 2023 brought on 2 part-time aquatic coordinators, Christine and Tony. They both are coming back this year. 2024 actually will have an addition of 2 other aquatic coordinators, so we ensure an adult presence out there when the pool is open to the public. All of the aquatic coordinators, with the exception of Christine, are school teachers, which is really nice. They're looking for summer jobs. They're used to working with kids. They're all high school teachers too. So I'm excited to have them out there. We did, additionally, we hired approximately 80 cashiers, lifeguards, and pool managers last year. That's about average for the pool. I think right now, I want to say I'm at like 42 or 41, so I'm about halfway there. I have a school recruitment on Friday at Hinsdale Central. Other than that, in the fall, a survey was sent out to our area municipalities that operated pools to kind of get some data to see where a lifeguard and a cashier wages fell and where they're going with it. And on average, they fell between 15, 16 per hour. So I don't forget what month, but the board did approve for the 2024 pool rates was that you can compare them to 2023 with some adjustments. One of them being a lifeguard. So a first-year lifeguard went up from 15 to 1550. If you're a returning staff, we wanted to be fair. They're going up to 16. Our pool managers went from 17 to 18, and our aquatic coordinators went from 21 to 23. And really, the big thing on the aquatic coordinators was to attract adults, to have them out there on the pool deck. I'm not going to go over all the survey results, but I want to flip to page 16. I summarized the comments from the survey. One thing is we received positive feedback on the great value of the pool and how we have dedicated lap lanes. I think that's great. Kudos to us. Concession stand, and I kind of talked about this a little bit. People did say it could be stocked a little better. I was not aware of any issues, but from running concession stands previous at other places, I know if you get in a busy weekend or if a big day camp come out, supplies do run out. So that's something we're going to work with our vendor, our new vendor, being a little more prepared. And that also stems on us for communication. We want to tell them when the day camps are coming out and when big events are happening so they can stock up accordingly. New lounge chairs, this is something that we kind of knew going into the village, that we have to start a replacement plan for lounge chairs, and we just placed the order today for 30 new lounge chairs. That'll be coming in 16? Oh,
That's great.
sorry, 16 lounge chairs. Limiting day camp visits, that was some feedback we got. I want to be clear here, we don't have any outside day camps come in besides the community house. It's a partnership with the community house. It's worked out great. They pay to come in. I think with the additional grass space, it's going to help. Before, we didn't have all this grass space, and we had youngsters sitting on chairs and putting their backpacks on the pool deck. But now that we have 3 sections of grass space out there, our day camps are going to be focused to sit into that grass space and not in the pool chair. So that's something we're going to work with the community house and educating them and their staff where the day camp kids should go, and leave the chairs for the members and the residents.
How often are they coming? They don't go every day.
No, last year they were Tuesday and Thursday from approximately 11:45 noon to like 2. It's only like 2.5 hours.
But during the peak hours.
During the
right?
peak
That's our
hours, and
highest-
you're-
Those are our highest attendance hours.
And you're talking anywhere between 90 and 120 kids.
So is there a way to stagger their time, so it's during not necessarily our peak hours?
It's not, because day camps all end at like 3:15, unfortunately. It's a great benefit for the community. Half these kids that come in, they end up in our swim lessons. We, as a village, are swim testing them for their own safety. So they're getting an added benefit of just ensuring that they know how to swim and having fun. And it just boils down to communication. And I know we have a meeting, I think it's April Fool's Day, with the community house to talk about summer operations and how we're going to handle stuff.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it is, the day camps are coming from our community house. So that's not something that is extending to the neighboring villages. So it is a lot of
Correct.
kids, but it is a service that, if we can make sure, like just in the scheduling and all of that, and
We used to work for the Bensonville Park District and operate a pool, and we would take day camps from everywhere, even Chicago, and it turned into
I got it.
a logistical nightmare of trying to ensure swim levels and who's coming, but just sticking it in how we've been doing it here to our own community, it's working out great. And I'm not changing that, and we're just going to focus on those Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
More lap lane availability. You know, this is just a challenge during open public times. Normally the lap lanes are out for people, so we always have 2 lap lanes out. The problem is if the pool's really busy, it's hard to get a 3rd lap lane or a 4th lap lane in. So it's something we're going to work with the managers. If it's slow in the morning or slow in the evening, throw in that 3rd, throw in the 4th lap lane. If there's lap swimmers out there, just take the extra effort to make sure we're meeting all the needs. But this is really just stemmed from how busy it is at times during the middle of the day, and we can't have so many lap lanes out there.
Was that one comment, or was that several comments? I mean, not that like you need to, you know, sometimes you get 1 or 2 that it's not necessarily
It
representative.
wasn't 12, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I
all
feel
right.
like I feel like having 2 lap lanes in all
the
day
time.
is really quite adequate.
Yeah,
And because you can really fit circle swimming, I
We
mean, you
had
can fit a lot
to-
of people in there.
last year, there's several times we did throw a 3rd or 4th in there because we did have some youngsters that want to do lap swimming, which is great. But our active adults did not necessarily like having them next to them in the same lane. So we had to separate them a little bit just because they're moving so quick, and our active adults are just exercising and for mobility reasons. So those would be some of the times that we would adjust.
Oh, see, I didn't realize. Okay, so I'm thinking that lap lanes are for adults only, but that's not the case.
We've had like swimmers come in from swim teams that want to do lap lanes, and if we're slow, we'll throw it in and help them out.
I mean,
And a lot of it's HSC kids, believe it or not.
right.
As long-
Okay, I
as
mean,
long
because I
as they're
think
moving.
historically, the lanes are really for adults during the day, but I guess
Well,
we can accommodate.
We accommodate. I mean, that's why we offer the adults lap lane swim in the morning from 5:45 to 9:45, 10
Sure.
ballpark. But we try to accommodate
That's
the best we can.
over ambitious kids there. Probably going to swim practice and getting extra.
Yeah, those
during
poor
open
guards, they
swim.
move those lap lanes in and out like 15 times a day.
Okay.
More shaded areas, you know, this is, plans being evaluated in the future on this one. The shade is what we have out there, but going in the future and as we go through a master comprehensive plan and further assessments, we'll keep that in the think tank.
And I think you'd find people that would say, well, we don't want all that shade. We come to the pool and we want to get the sun. So I think, you know, there's going to be a balance there.
Yep. And then communication plan when the pool's closed. There was a communication plan in place, so we currently post it on a rain outline that's linked to Facebook. We also put a sign out there if we're closed. If it's not private lessons, swim lessons, we notify all the swim lessons if it's canceled. I think some of the comments that I received, and after talking with some of the parents, it was they just weren't aware the systems were in place. So this year, when people register for memberships or programs, I'm going to put something on the bottom of all the receipts that says, this is where to go, this is what to do, and then we'll put some marketing out there too, and by the front windows of the pool and et cetera.
Do we get emails of everyone that buys passes, for example?
If they want to give us an email, that's the challenge. And
Because that's the ideal time, obviously, when they get the passes to
some
get that information to them.
Some people don't want to give us an email, and to take it a step further, 90% of our registrations are done online, and we don't have that one-on-one ability to kind of explain why you need that email.
We're also going to expand the brochure in the aquatics section to not only have that rain out information, it's in the 2nd or 3rd page, but it'll also be in the pool section
Yeah.
to sit there and say swim lessons, pool closures, it's here as well.
You might just want to put a few flyers up at the pool,
Yeah,
obviously, as
too.
well.
2024 projects to kind of wrap up the pool report. Replacement of lounge chairs, we already talked about that. The replacement of small heater, this is a capital project that continued from last year. We had to hit pause on it last year. The state of Illinois was extremely slow in issuing us a permit. And then when we finally got the permit, they asked us to do more work than we had planned in the capital. So we had to phase it between 2 years. This project is actually currently underway as we speak. The vendor was out there last week, I think it was. Repair and painting of the wood structure. It's our goal to, that wood structure in the baby pool. There's some rotten boards on it, paint's chipping. We're meeting with several vendors out there and getting quotes to spruce that up and make it look nicer. Replacement of life jacket storage and storage rack. This was a challenge last year because we had those bins out there, and people would throw the wet life jackets in them, and then they're getting, moldy is a bad word, but stagnant smelling. So this year we're looking to get some type of hanging system where we can have them hang in hangers, roll them in the locker room at the end of the night, and then roll them back out, and then removing those big wood, or not wood, plastic structures that they were in, and gives us more deck space for additional chairs and seating. New manager office AC, this has been purchased. It's currently at the pool. The AC last year, while it worked, it didn't work the best. Yearly pump repairs, this is a capital project. Every year, Public Services pulls one of our main operating pumps, has it rebuilt, repaired, and then puts it back together. And next year, they plan for another one and another one. It just helps with the overall maintenance of the pool. Annual heater cleaning, same thing, helps ensure longevity of our heaters. We have some safety equipment purchases, and then we are also purchasing some new portable stairs and a new ADA lift. So those
Because
are,
we have one there currently, correct?
it is broken.
It's broken.
It doesn't work.
Okay. How often is it used?
At my last pool, all the time. Here, I did not see it used last year, but by law, you have to have it, unfortunately.
So I'm trying to recall, was it in the middle of the pool?
No, it's kind of like
Second lane.
Tucked
right
over
at
by the lanes?
when you walk out of like the men's locker room, it's right across from there, like by the water fountain.
And it's going back in the same spot? Is
Yeah,
that-
yeah, it's gonna be like for like, if we wanted to change it, we unfortunately have to pull state permits and go through a
okay.
whole planning process, but if it's like for like, we can continue.
Okay.
Mike, one quick thing just about the neighborly rates. I think, per the comments about limiting non-residents. I mean, I think that we offering the neighborly rate, enables us to, it helps our bottom line, providing a service to, other communities. But I do think that we want to kind of evaluate that every year as far as how many people we are getting from our own community and from the neighborly, looking at the price of the passes, because, we want to make sure that we're serving our residents and that we don't get overcrowded in the pool,
Sure.
but it's really, so I just think that is something we
I think,
want to visit.
I think that's a great point. I mean, that's something that obviously we're gonna continue evaluating every year. Looking at it right now, it's, in my humble opinion, it's fine. I mean, I lived at the pool last year, and it was never
Right.
crazy.
It all depends what happens in our neighboring town this year.
Correct. But,
Right.
there's creative things we can do going in the future, and I've done this some other pools, so members get in an hour earlier, or members can stay an hour later. So there's a lot of creative things we can do, and that's definitely something that we'll have to evaluate as we keep going through this season, especially in
Right.
light of some of the news we're gonna talk about later.
Yes. Okay.
So that is our aquatic reports. Questions? All right, I'm gonna move on to KLM to keep this
Can
moving.
we just talk about the Clarendon Hills pool for a minute?
Sure.
Sorry, I thought we were gonna, so obviously everyone's aware of the situation, or do you want to give us a quick
Yeah,
update for those that are not?
So I found out through the patch, to be totally honest.
So did I. So did you? Okay.
So Clarendon
journal.
Hills, we called and talked to Clarendon Hills, and I don't know the exact dollar amount, but they're putting out a referendum, I think it was $8 million referendum, and if it doesn't pass in March, they're gonna close down their facility and not run the pool. However, through some further conversations with staff there and looking deep into their website, that $8 million referendum is just not for their pool.
Oh, no, they've put a 4-page brochure out.
It's
My
going
mother-in-law has
towards
it.
the
It's-
park
it's a small-
system.
But it doesn't tell you exactly, I don't think, how much is the pool, but it's pickleball courts,
wasn't much.
turf,
Yeah.
new playgrounds, pergola
I-
repairs.
yeah.
You can
It's got a lot of
ascertain,
stuff in there.
you can ascertain numbers based on what they're looking to do.
We-
But
So do you think the pool's a majority of that, or a small
So-
part of that is what you're saying?
without seeing numbers, I wouldn't be able to
Okay. I
I
thought
wouldn't
you
be
were
able to
saying you could.
speculate.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did talk to their aquatic supervisor over there. One of the reasons I talked to him and Todd called him later is they wanted to jump back into the town team, into our swim team conference, because they haven't been in it for a while. So Brian and I had to have a conversation with them, like, we're not going to waste our time here if you're not serious, and come back in. They decided not to come back in, but he did tell me that they plan on opening their pool this year no matter what. And you got the same feedback. Now, I don't know if that's true. A lot can change, but staff over there at least
Isn't
told us.
March late to make a decision for this year? I mean, by March, you've got to have your staff hired, you
So
can't
they-
just,
They are moving forward as
Right, you
normal
can't just-
operation. So they're hiring staff, they're
so
getting
they may shut
everything
it down
ready.
after this year, or they may have
They-
plan
they
B.
already
They have a
ha-
plan B.
They already have all their staff hired. They only need 22 staff to operate that pool
Oh, wow.
compared to our 80 plus.
Why is that?
It's just smaller pool, less hours. They're not open as much. Size, I mean, angles of a pool. We have more angles. They don't have as many angles. But it also really comes down to the hours. We're open 16 hours a day or something like that. They're only open half that.
Because they don't have swim team, they don't have a town team anymore, and they're not doing all the rentals. So it's literally just.
So
like
we
less
open
than
at
open
5,
swim.
I think they were opening at 11 or 12, so.
Okay, so
That's-
so we think they're moving forward, so we're not planning for any contingency. I'm a little concerned about, back to the neighborly passes, that all of a sudden, if they were
So-
to close, like, are we limiting the number of neighborly
What-
passes?
One,
Or,
one thing that, number one, we have already a lot of Clarendon Hill residents. I did look into that. But one thing that we can do, and I just kind of thought of this, is when passes go on sale April 1st, I can put a question on there saying, please, like a mandatory question, please tell me the town you're coming from, so I can monitor traffic rates as registration's happening.
oh, do we not know that now?
We do know it. I can run reports, but this way I can actually get real-time data
Got it.
and look at it. If I see a huge influx of Clarendon Hills passes come in, we can have a higher up conversation and adjust or put limits on it, et
When are
cetera.
our passes going on sale?
April 1st.
Okay, so the election will be long gone, we'll know the result
Yeah.
before then. Okay.
So there's some systems we can put in place. I don't know necessarily if limiting it is the right direction, because like we talked about, it really does support our pool, the neighboring networks. But I definitely think it's something that as a village that we're gonna keep an eye on and have to keep an eye on it daily to figure out what's going on.
Good idea.
Yeah, because I think we should, I don't know if that's something we want to get involved with.
So you can look at that in real time based on the new structure of the passes as they come through the doors.
I
You
can. I can set up a report that literally gets either real-time dashboard on my computer or is emailed to me hourly, daily, weekly, that shows where people are coming from versus actually coming in, logging in, running an Excel sheet and sorting it. So
Right,
there are
that's
some
great.
systems I can put in place. They're not in place right now, but we can definitely add it in.
Yeah, and everybody outside of the community here is charged the same flat rate. So there's no fluctuating rate based on how far away you live, how close you live.
No, if you're a neighboring network, you don't pay as much as a non-resident. So a non-resident, like if you're coming from Aurora,
Right.
to come to our pool, you're paying more than a neighboring network. But if you're a resident, you're paying less than a neighboring network.
Right. Okay.
I mean, my reaction is that if it were to happen that we got a lot more demand from the Clarendon Hills community for our pool, then I'd rather see them in our pool than somebody from Brookfield. So, as we
Because we're
think
kind
about.
of the same community.
Yeah,
I mean, we are the
as,
same
as we
community.
think about our like
school-wise.
neighborly network,
As we go,
maybe there's future adjustments that we would make that would accommodate more of them and maybe
sure,
less of us.
as we go through this next membership push over the spring into the summer, I'll bring some data of where people come from. Last year when I looked at it, I want to say LaGrange was our highest user base. Not so much Brookfield, not LaGrange Park. It came out of LaGrange.
Well, we used to have a pass with Clarendon Hills, right? There
Well, the
were
super pass.
the super pass,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, we had a
Which
joint-
they pulled out of, if I recall.
Correct.
Was that right?
Correct.
And so they have not approached you. So how many years is it? It's been a couple of years that we haven't done that anymore?
It's been a couple of years. Clarendon Hills Superintendent Val left there a couple weeks ago and went to Oak Brook. So they don't have a superintendent right now. And their executive director is obviously in the middle of planning this whole thing out right now. So the communication has been tough. But we've been in touch with the aquatic supervisor at least. But he doesn't have the authority to make or bring back a pass as such, nor I don't think they want to think about it.
No, and
Until this is done.
I'm just, as long as we don't have it,
But
because
we
that would
used to
be
have
something
it.
that would naturally, I think, okay. It'll
All
be
right.
interesting to see what happens.
KLM report's not as long, I promise. All right, so the Lodge experienced a successful 2023 year, but 2023 also represented a time of transition between staffing and operational changes. At the start of 2024 season, our facility manager role was transitioned to a current Lodge employee who's been with us for many years. She has many years of experience. Also, as the 2024 budget process, we evaluated the overall facility operations, which I'll get into in this report here a little bit. But the result offered some detailed snapshot into the facility and how it was being operated. Future changes include reducing expenses through service adjustments and increasing sales through improved marketing, facility attractiveness, and enhanced lead tracking. And I'm gonna say the word lead here a lot. I just want to clarify what it is. Lead is like somebody that reached out to the village and they're interested in having an event at KLM. So we call it a lead. So when you hear that, that's what I'm referring to. All through 2020, although 2024 has just begun, the Lodge has already booked 70% of our budgeted revenue for 2024. And actually that number is even higher now since I've done this report. I'm going to skip the budget page because I want to go through the revenues and expenses, just like we did in the pools, and then we can come back and ask questions. Revenues, so cater fees, whether preferred caterer or not, are allocated out of the same budget line. Preferred caterers pay an annual $250 fee to the village. The more preferred caterers we have, the more money we collect up front. When a preferred caterer is selected for an event, the village does receive additional fees, and this is based off of the size of the event. So I gave kind of a breakdown. For an example, if what's one of our caterers?
Beyond catering. we're
Beyond
used to
Catering. So if Beyond Catering books an event for 100 people, they have to give us $250 extra. But if it's only for 50 people, they're only giving us $100 extra. We also have non-preferred outside caterings, which is a flat fee of $1,000. We really, while we allow outside caterers, we don't necessarily want them. And part of the reason behind it is our preferred caterers know our facility, they know our operations. We have all of their paperwork on file. They've been vetted. We know we have all their state license on file. When you get an outside caterer, it's a lot of work on the staff to ensure to track down all that proper stuff before something can be hosted. While income appears to be down from 2022, the Lodge has had nearly the same number of events. We looked into this, and what we discovered is the event type itself is the main driving factor behind total revenue. So for an example, a primetime weekend booking generates an average of a $2,500 profit after expenses, while a smaller event on a non-prime date generates roughly about $500. Going forward, we've taken initiative to really focus on grabbing those prime time weekend events, whether it's a baby shower or a wedding or whatever it is on the weekend, as quickly as possible. And we're even looking further out to grab them. For an example, I booked my wedding, I think 18 months out. We were only booking about a year, maybe a year and 4 months out here. So we've expanded that reach a little bit more to secure and book all those dates further. Additionally, in 2021, the Lodge had less events than 2023, yet our revenue was higher. This was a direct impact of COVID. Between 2019 and 2021, the Lodge was rented out to one-time vendors, making up for lost revenue. Actually turned out to be a great revenue producer. These vendors included the School District 86 and a long-standing kitchen usage agreement. We did not count these in our events because they were not really true events. They were more making rentals to bring in additional income. On the flip side, our expenses has been generally stable over the last few years. Staffing is going to be a major focus going into 2024 to ensure staff are being scheduled properly and are being reduced during slow times of operation. The telecommunications line item will generally be reduced in 2024 as we discovered we were paying for telephone lines into the facility that were not being used. The printing and publication budget did increase to support a contracted village communication publication provider. I want to be clear that what is planned for her out of that line item is allocated for KLM. It's not allocated towards other village needs. Those are funded out of different budgets. The custodial costs were directly impacted by the number of events held. Staff recently went out to bid on service changes. In the past, the village was paying a per month rate, and going forward, we're paying a per event rate. This is going to dramatically, hopefully, reduce that line item. It is event driven. Maybe we'll have 200 events, so then the line item will be increased. But we're not always going to be using our cleaning service. So if we have a small event of 15, 20 people, rather than calling him out for a fee to clean and break down the table, we're doing some of the stuff in-house to lower that cost. Building maintenance has increased since 2021 and is directly correlated to repairs and upkeep. However, staff is forecasting a reduction in this expense going forward into future budgets as various planned projects are being completed and planned for.
That's a different custodial company, I presume, than the pool one?
Yes, and as the villages.
Okay, and there's no economies of scale? Are they completely just different types of
KLM is very unique because they're like a porter service. They break down tables, they set up tables. They might be coming two times in a week, and if you have an event on a Saturday and then an event on a Sunday.
Not just a cleaning?
It's not just cleaning. It's like having a maintenance staff
Okay.
at KLM. And then the pool, because it's under, it was under 10,000, we just went out and received quotes from a company, and two of the companies that we received quotes from last year, we started working with them. They weren't working out well, and we just landed on this new company that came in time and did a good job.
Is there any consideration for adjusting our event prices or the differential between prime time and non-prime time?
So our prices do change between prime time and non-prime time, or if you want a 3-hour or a 5-hour rate. We are still looking into evaluations of like facilities and have expanded it even to facilities of the same size that maybe not are as like KLM. So that data is still coming in, but I will tell you initially from a quick 30,000 foot review, our pricing is very attractive, and we're not overpriced, we're not underpriced. So far, it seems like we're right there, but all that's going to change as we continue to collect this data and get more and more information.
And I was thinking more in terms of price increases than price decreases.
I'd love to do it. I just, I had one lady today, she called me, I gave her the contract, and within 5 minutes, she called me back because we were too high priced. So there's a lot of people that look at it and are just like, it's out of my league, believe it or not.
So, yeah, and looking at like a wedding, people don't think twice about, you're paying for a wedding, but if you want to get like a graduation party, that's where those prices where you can go to a park district and they're going to be substantially less. Maybe not as nice of a facility or a space, but that's where that fine line of juggling that has come from.
One thing also to keep in mind with the pricing is, from a village's standpoint, we get the pricing that's shown on the paper, whatever it's $2,500 or $1,300, whatever the amount might be. But as a renter, you are also paying maybe a tent company, you're maybe paying a food catering company, and it adds up. I mean, they might be $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 out of their pocket by the time they're done with the events. Any questions on the revenue and expense side we can go over?
So I'm just, so last year we were in the red. Obviously, we're trying to adjust that, it seems, for 2024. I'm just trying to understand that. So like, was it some of those building maintenance projects that were maybe not part of the capital plan? Is that, just help me understand how we think 2024 is going to be different.
So like we kind of explained, our expenses are pretty stable. How 2024 is going to be different will be touched on a little further in here, but I'll briefly touch on it. It's our approach that we're taking to KLM. Last year, we weren't taking that approach of grabbing those primetime people. We weren't doing the right marketing approach. We weren't tracking leads. We weren't looking at how we do selling. So, and Todd has a nice report he's giving on that at the end of the presentation here. I will tell you, since we had a changing over of staff there, I had to immerse myself in the facility and learn a lot about KLM, and the amount of leads and interest that we get in KLM is astonishing. So from December 11th to, I don't know, he go pull it up, to today or something, I think we had like 290 people reach out to us on interest in hosting an event. And that's information that we put systems in place of how to track and manage to make sure we stay on top of it now. And Todd's gonna go over that in the report, but by setting up this new approach, it's gonna help us hit our goal, surpass our goal, and even hopefully even go further than surpassing our goal.
Do we think the marketing programs we have in place, I'm trying to remember the Knot and all these other ones, I mean, these are still continuing and they are still providing us with
Yeah,
leads that,
so on this sheet that he's gonna talk about, I mean, we track whether it's a phone call, an email, if it comes through the Knot, if it comes through Facebook, our website, all the systems we have in place are working. It's just you have to keep a pulse on it. You got to go.
follow up to the leads.
You got to
right?
do follow-ups and follow-ups. And we made a system in place now where we not only track it, where we can follow up with them in 5 days. We send another follow-up in 10 days. And after like 2 weeks, they move to another section of the page. So it is a constant moving worksheet.
So you guys are essentially building out a CRM where you can send out the automated emails
Yep.
based on kind of where they stand in the continuum until you either close them out or
100%.
They're not gonna
We made
buy.
it in-house CRM.
that's awesome.
So since November 14th, we've received 301 leads to the system that we're able to track. So that's equating to at least 3-4 a day. So they're coming in, so trying to get the word out about our facility, I don't think is really the issue. It's
Conversion.
It's, right, yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
Version rate.
do we have a sort of a current conversion rate and, you know, what we're trying to improve that to?
Right now,
Oh, is that-
since we just brought on that new, we just brought on a new staff member, that's gonna be a future
I'm sorry, I didn't.
conversion, so leads to booking.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, we are tracking it. I could pull up on the sheet right now and let you know, and I did do a quick number the other day. I think it was like we're closing 10% of our leads right now. So I'd love to be like in the 20% level. But we just started collecting this data. It's really fresh, but it's really interesting, which actually kind of segues into my next part of this report. If I can real quick. We are actually tracking, if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, there's the map of where bookings originated. And as you can see, most are in the local suburbs, but some are from the southwest suburbs. So by us now looking at this data of where people are coming from, we can start looking at, hey, is there a wedding show southwest? Should we maybe go down to it? Should we put an ad down there? And part of that might be because there isn't a facility like ours down in that area. Most of the historic facilities are all north of us. But this is what we're taking with this data, and we are actually even tracking when they give it to us where the leads are even coming from. So not only where they booked, but where they're coming from. So it's a great software that we kind of put in place. Kind of looking at the chart above, I showed you guys this in the last commission meeting. I just wanted to kind of go over this again. The data from 2022 and 21 was COVID driven. We kind of talked about that due to those unique events. Historically, the lodge is slower December through February, with the busy season being May through October. In 2024, nearly, actually I think all now, I'd have to check, but I'm gonna say nearly every Saturday is booked between April and October already. We're actually booked into 2026, 2 bookings too. One interesting aspect noted was over the holiday season, we were under the assumption that it's a slow time for the lodge, and it is from a rental standpoint, but from an engagement standpoint and weddings planning, it is not. And these leads fly in over the holidays, and we were very on top of it and busy trying to grab them and maintain them. So I think by taking some of these new approaches, it's going to really help position us.
You back to that lead conversion piece. So your budget calls for 2024.
It's like 170.
like a
175?
$175,000 dollars in lodge rentals. I know that each rental, you got a different scale. Do you have an average number? So if you did kind of, a formula around your lead conversion, like how many, so you've done the last 2 years, you've done 96, you've done 93.
So-
what's that optimal number to get
like
to?
I
that?
was talking about, it's not about the numbers. And
Yeah.
I was so focused on those numbers when I first came in here. We can have 50 compared to 90, but if we book those prime times, weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, it's going to bump up our revenue. So like right now, I ran the report. I think I'm throwing a number out there. We were 40,000 or something a week ago away from our budget number, but that's because we're booked all these Saturdays and Sundays. And not saying we didn't grab a Wednesday Memorial or something, but they weren't necessarily the burning ones that we were focusing on when they came in. So I think that's gonna be something interesting as we go into next year to look at that number and see
Yeah, what's your gold, silver, bronze?
exactly.
Right.
And now that we have this data and we're maintaining it.
Right, like how many golds do I need to acquire, silvers and bronzes, to roll up to meet budget? Okay, great, that's awesome.
So we used to get these leads, but we would just not act on them, or did we not
It wasn't that-
prioritize them?
It wasn't that staff or whoever wasn't acting in it. It's just, I think so many came in and there was no system in place and there were so many hands in the pot between emails. I mean, every staff member was answering between their own work emails. We had a lodge email. I had an email. Hillary had an email. Todd had an email. So now everything goes through one email. It's the lodge at info or whatever it is at KLM. We all use the same email. We all see what's read. We all go onto the CRM database and see if the lead's been put in there, when it's been followed up, who's been followed up, when it's been followed up. So we have a system in place where we can visually see what's been done. And before it was chaos of emails that came in. And there were,
But principally, I'm assuming this responsibility resides with our new lodge manager, correct?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, right now, we are still keeping a very strong pulse on it because we want to make sure that we train and we educate and the system continues.
The other thing, and I can talk about that a little bit more, is really time, I would say time management of hours and tracking of those management. So one of the biggest things we learned from going through this is within 72 hours, you have to respond to a lead. We have now, because of this increased, at least in the one Zola and Wedding Wire, we are about 40% at that mark. We're already up to 90 on Wedding Wire, and we're at 100% within that 72-hour range on Zola. So being able to track that, staff have notes in it. So if Mike talks to someone, he's putting notes in there. They call the lodge phone. I can pick up the phone and know exactly what was talked about, what was discussed, and having that access at the tip of our fingers, whether we're at the lodge, here at the village, or even at home, being able to access our computers has been instrumental in us getting these and converting them.
And we can make sure, not that we're watching staff, but we can make sure staff's doing their tasks timely and correctly by having this too.
That was my other question. Are we staffed appropriately?
Yeah, so the lodge is fully staffed right now. We have our manager in place. We have our event host in place. As we go through this process and really start pounding through some of these leads and making bookings, I'm sure there will have to be future adjustments and changes.
It's an easy job to even do remotely for an intern or a
Well-
part-time, to at least go through and fill that CRM system and transfer the data.
One of the things that we changed is the staff for KLM is based out of Village Hall now. They do have to go to KLM, but we have them out of Village Hall because we're one team. And the amount of times that they'll have to come and ask Todd or myself questions, should we book this? Should we not book this? It's been kind of shocking, but it's been healthy. It's been a healthy process because it's been really nice. I feel like before that they were over there, they were kind of on an island and might have had questions, but might have not seen us or, might have been stuck there not knowing an answer or a village process that was put in place. But by having the staff here, it's been great. I mean, we've all been working
So is there
timely
somebody
together.
there if I drive by and I see it and I'm like, oh, I want to go take a look? It's not.
No,
I can't just
it's
pop
not. So
in and
you
take a
ha-
tour.
Correct. So you have to schedule a tour with us. We're just not open drive-by. We do have information on the door and a doorbell that we get alerts on our computers and phones for deliveries, or if there's an emergency, someone can hit that and notify us, which we've had to use several times, not for an emergency standpoint, but someone didn't tell us that the flowers were coming for the wedding. So we'll get an alert on our phone and we'll be right there.
Okay. Do we have a QR code or anything there that somebody could scan, or a website or something that if they come
the door.
to, that they could just kind of like
yeah.
get the information?
It's on the door.
It is,
And
okay, great.
actually, something really cool, when we were at conference for the Park and Rec conference this past January, when we were meeting with vendors, we actually won a freestanding banner that we're going to be installing, or not installing. It's one of those retractable banners that we can actually set up in one of the windows, so as people are walking by, they'll be able to see it and scan
And that you can take
QR.
down when there's a wedding or something?
Correct.
Okay, great. Great idea.
All right, I'm going to move on to projects because there's a whole bunch of other good stuff coming up here that Todd will talk about with our changes that we made. So in 2023, the bathrooms, bridal room, and foyer area of the lodge were painted. It was painted the same color, might have been a shade lighter or darker. Don't ask me, I'm colorblind, but it was close enough. Installation of an additional power near the patio. I don't know if you guys remember when we have had outdoor events in the past, we were constantly blowing circuits because there was not enough power on that patio. So we have now worked with ComEd, ran a whole new power line, have a whole new power box out there, so power is not going to be an issue anymore. Replacement of back sidewalk leading from the parking lot to the patio. So that sidewalk before was maybe 2.5, maybe 3 feet wide, and it was falling apart. But a lot of brides and guests would take that to the patio. So we have torn that out, made it wide enough so for our snow removal machines, and now so there's no bumps and uneven surfaces. Constantly repairing some stuff to the HVAC system to ensure operations, kitchen equipment, emergency exits, installation of new decorative lighting, all the decorative lighting upstairs and downstairs. We had like that Christmas light, rope lighting stuff. A lot of the areas were out, so that was all taken down, re-put back up. And then deep carpet cleaning. In 2024, some projects we have is new bathroom partitions being installed, removal of carpet, installation of a solid surfacing, installation of a new sound system, which just went in last Monday, just in time because the old sound system actually died the day before and was not operational. A lobby TV. So going back on the lodge itself, when you walk into the lodge now in the lobby, we have a TV mounted on the wall, 55 inches.
Yes.
55-inch TV that shows advertisements and pictures of the lodge. But if there's a memorial or a wedding, you can hook up into it and show your family pictures. It just brings a sense of coziness to it. Painting of exterior front entrance and exterior patio. That work is actually being planned and underway as we kind of speak. Replacement of non-working water fountain. Purchasing of 2 new portable bars. That's actually only going to be 1 portable bar. Our price came in a little higher, but downstairs at the lodge, that bar is non-movable and it leaks. So we have found a new bar that not only collapses and we can put away. So if we have an event that doesn't want to see a bar or want that out there, or if an event wants to move it into a different area, so that will be coming in the next couple weeks. We talked about the foyer wall-mounted TV, organization of storage. That's been an ongoing project, but we've gone through and gotten bins, organized, KLM, labeled stuff, so we know where our remotes are, our extension cords are, or you name it, we can tell you where it's at. And replacement of kitchen cabinet locks. The locks currently at the lodge, not all lock on the kitchen, which isn't great because us as a staff, we can't put our coffee cups and our supplies in there because events will come in and think it's theirs for the taking. So we really want to be able to use those cabinets for our own storage and our own needs. And I will turn this next part over to Todd because he's really been
Real quick question, which carpet? Are you getting rid of the whole carpet on the first floor?
right hard to answer right now, whether it's gonna be a phase project or one project, but yes, we are looking to get rid of it and make it celebrate the historicalness of the lodge, but get rid of and remove the carpet and make it easier to clean up and put down some type of solid surfacing flooring. And we've contacted an architect who not only specializes in this, but has worked on similar historical sites and done really nice work. So we're still waiting to get information from him and get some direction on that.
Maybe a different look.
Okay. Kind of jump around a little bit. I'll just start off with the Microsoft Teams because we were talking about the CRM stuff. So one of the other things that we did with our staff to kind of increase customer service, that was pretty much the whole gist of facility operations, was streamlining processes, making it easier for us to get back to and offer the best service to the people that are coming through. So by moving most of our files to Microsoft Teams, all the staff have access to it now, where we had some files here, some at the lodge. They're able to just log on, print it off, getting away from sheets of paper that are stored in files where if we need to get them, we can just log on that day and see when they're created. So like end of event surveys, instead of having paper surveys, we've now moved that using SurveyMonkey in our website. So when somebody's done with their event, they can just log on, fill out the quick survey, and it's done instead of handing paper out. So a lot of the stuff we've done with Teams is kind of moving away from having paper documents and going more digital to make things more efficient. With that, we've also started a program. It was called All Seated. Since doing this report, it is now called Prism. They've merged with another group. A lot of our caterers use this system. The benefit of it is online based. We're allowed to input all of our events into there. And it helps not only the caterers can use it, we can use it, and if we want to set permissions for the renter, they can visualize it as well. Before, when we were setting up floor plans, we were hand drawing them out, scanning them, email it to the caterer emails it to the customer. Customer says, I want this and this change. They email it back to the caterer, they email it to us. So it was a lot of back and forth. Now we can log straight on. It's a digital platform that has the exact dimensions of the lodge. You can drag and drop tables, move and rearrange it. The caterer, if they make a change, the caterer can log right in, make those adjustments, and we can just visualize it. So it kind of pushes that step off of our staff from having to do that, and allows the caterer more ease of access. And then by doing that, it allows the renter to be able to see the facility in real time when those changes are made.
You also, in that software, as a renter, can assign assignments. So if you're planning your wedding, instead of drawing it on a big poster board like we all did, can sit there and be like Johnny sitting here, Michael sitting here, and drag and drop around in live time.
And it also lets us generate reports even for our cleaning staff. So we could sit there and print out, I need 10 72-inch tables, 48 chairs, this many high tops. So it's really kind of streamlining that process and eliminating a lot of the back and forth emails so that they can focus more on lead generation and getting back to the customer, and not that extra stuff that's really not, it's important, but could be made easier. And then in improving, we went down a route to kind of improve the overall look or aspect of how we give tours and how we present ourselves. So with that, all of our staff got new uniforms, got some nice, almost like mint green button-up shirts that have the lodge. They all have new name tags that actually have their name. It just doesn't say event staff on it. So when they're either giving a tour or they're at hosting an event, they just look a little bit more presentable and what you can expect from a venue like ours. Other things we did, as you can see from the pictures on page 9, we actually have a table set up. We've actually moved that into the office after some reorganization. So when they come in, we have a nice setup a table. Before, they were just walking around with a clipboard. So now it's a little bit more elegant. They can sit down, they can see pictures from previous events. We've upgraded our forms. I actually have this. Instead of just a white folder, we have a little bit more of a professional presentation. So kind of upping how we present ourselves at the lodge to make it more of an elegant feel, and then being able to streamline that for us. One of the positives of that as well is we've added a virtual tour now to our website. So to kind of eliminate those people that are saying, I want to see what your facility looks like, and having to go over there, spend 45 minutes, they can actually log into our website at any point in time and walk the entire facility, inside of the facility. Future plans are actually to have venue set up and have 2 virtual tours, one with the facility empty and one with it actually set up fully for like a wedding or event, so that they can see what someone else has done, but also see what they can envision as well as a calendar. So on the very bottom page of our KLM Lodge website, you can actually scroll down and it shows what currently is booked moving forward. It doesn't say the name of the event or what it is. All it just says is this date is currently booked. So that has helped us a lot, especially when we've been looking at the lead generation is, I need September 26th. All right, it's already booked. So we have to email that person, hey, unfortunately this is booked, but is there another date you would want to look for? So that's helped us narrow some of those down and really streamline those processes. And that's where that Microsoft Teams and the lead report has really kind of helped us get those kind of set.
And we know some of that information wasn't on that sheet. This is stuff we've done in the last week and a half since we did this report, so.
Yeah, I would imagine some of that new software you're putting in through Prism would help turn those proposals back around faster.
It does, and it also helps, like Todd said, with communication, because before it was handwrite out, email back, email to someone else, and finally we would get it, and then we'd have to email to the setup people, and then there could be a change. So it's
Well,
really helped with the communication.
And it's also helped with event numbers. So we had a hard number, 150. By using this software, it actually, since it's spaced out, we could actually figure out within fire code exactly how many people we can fit in each room and what size tables to do that. So instead of saying 150, we now know we can actually get probably closer to 175, 180 in that lower space. So some of those events that we were just saying, nope, we can't do, we really can do now, and we're able to move forward with it. So it's offering better ease of use.
I love all of it.
Same.
I think this is
Nice
so,
job.
like, we're finally coming into
It's
the 21st
modernizing, yeah.
21st century. I know. I didn't realize how much, I guess I didn't realize how much was not being done, you know? I kind of feel dumb that I didn't know that. But kudos to you. I think this is all fantastic and will definitely help sell the lodge much more easily. Will help with the lead generation and the way you are able to process those leads. If they can just look and see the dates booked, they don't have to write you, they can take the virtual tour online, like,
It speeds it up. I mean, I had 3 people call me today. I kind of alluded to, I sold one, didn't work out, and then I had 2 more that I sent contracts to and secured right away with deposits. But I was able to look at a lead sheet, a booking sheet, send out the contracts, and done.
I didn't realize we weren't doing that, so kudos to you for, well done.
And I will also say the staff, part-time staff, has been very receptive. We've been talking with them, and what would make your job easier? What can we do to help you make this facility better? So a lot of what we've been doing is not only from our own experience, but really working with them to see how we can change and make things a little bit more streamlined to make it better for them as well.
Well, and this is the time of year to do it, right? Not in the summer, obviously, so.
Exactly.
No, I think that's great. I have to go on and do the virtual tour. I haven't done that yet, so I'm excited to try that. Great job. Can I just say thank you for all of the data? I probably speak on behalf. We are so excited to see
great-
some
great up-
numbers
really
and
great
some
update.
dollars, and wow. So, it's just so exciting to see all the work that's been done and to be able to see the results and to be able to look at some data. And so thank you. I know it's been a long time coming, but
No,
it
no,
was
you're
well worth
welcome.
it.
I mean, and by us switching this process a little bit of waiting to collect all the data and make sure the finances are right really helps present the right picture. So we're happy to share it. We love sharing it, but we just had to change a couple things around.
And thank you for your patience on that.
So of course
Appreciate
I
it.
have an ask. So are we gonna get there with our programming as well? So we've got the pool, we've got the lodge. I know that
Yeah,
I know that there's all kinds of systems that have still been worked on, so.
My plan, I'm going to say plan right now, is to do also then a programming report, but I would like to do it more towards in the fall because this is a lot to compile into that.
Sure.
I know it might not be on our physical calendar year, but I'm going to put it on our brochure calendar year. So we start winter, spring brochure, we start a summer brochure, we do a fall brochure. It's typically on our brochure calendar year, so that's kind of what I want to stick it with. And then in the fall, I'll give a report on participants, what programs may have worked, not worked, et cetera.
If I can interject, we say we
yeah,
do
I
have
like the
a
idea.
programming schedule just of the revenues and expenses in the village's budget. So that's out there for the 2024 and prior budget years.
They got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could reshare that to you again. We do, like Carrie said, we did that in the last board meeting with the program stuff, but no, more of a comprehensive programming report is coming.
Yeah, and it would be nice to rotate through those more comprehensive topics throughout the course of the year. And then maybe there's an end of calendar fiscal year.
Sure. Well, I mean,
Financial report that
yeah,
covers
and
it all, but, this sort of deep dive, we can schedule them over the course of the year.
Yeah,
not
like
have them
the
all
deep dive in
in
the
the
end,
same
but
meeting.
we do 3 brochures a year, so it's essentially every 4 months, one comes out. So at the end of each brochure, we could provide a couple page summary on data and et cetera.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, package it up
So
like that.
nice to see it.
So Mike,
well done.
Mike touched on this briefly, but we are benchmarking to some of the other facilities that are historic in nature. I don't know if you want to talk about that just briefly. I know that's still evolving, but we have identified those facilities and are working on that.
Yeah, briefly, it's still identifying right now. We just researched 5 historical like-for-like facilities, looking at their general operations, how many staff do they have, what are their fees, do they do tours, are they online, do they have a maintenance crew, just asking a whole slew of questions. But we are expanding that search, just not only to focus on the historical sites. We want to look even bigger, some of these country clubs, golf clubs, et cetera, that are similar in size. Obviously, I'm not going to compare myself to something that's too big, and collect all that data, and then we're going to compile it here, and we'll have some more information to share on that to kind of see where we really stand up next to some of these facilities.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Okay, moving on to old business. Do we have no old business? No new business? Correspondence. We have the meeting schedule.
Yeah, so we did attach the meeting schedule for 2024 in here that has been approved. Our next meeting is going to be March 12th at 6 p.m. I did email this all out to everybody also when it was approved, but if you want another electronic copy,
When is election day? Is that election? Is it on a Tuesday? Is it the following Tuesday
March.
in March?
It's I don't know, isn't it March?
The following.
It's the following
It's
Tuesday.
following- Okay, great. Oh, so we won't have that result. I just didn't know if we'd have the referendum result yet for our meeting, because then I know passes go on sale April 1st, so we won't have it yet.
We'll
But
have to wait to April 3rd for that one.
we can, okay. Okay, so we've got our yearly calendar. I know some people weren't here when we changed around the meeting schedule a little bit, but we just went to 8 meetings this year. Okay, other business, rec coordinator and KLM positions.
Yeah, I just want to give some brief updates here. So the KLM position has been hired for. We've filled that. We're very happy with that. We are currently advertising and interviewing for a rec coordinator position, who was Maggie's role at the front desk. We have some very good candidates. I'm hoping we'll have somebody hired here by the next meeting. But for the time being, myself and Todd have been managing all front desk operations, registrations, phone calls, emails, and everything else above. And that,
Sorry, remind me, who's the new KLM person, manager?
Ariana. So Ariana has been with us for many years. She started as a KLM intern at KLM, and then evolved into an event host at KLM, and then was going to originally apply to be the event manager, but had some other things to tackle. And then when this opportunity came up, she kind of ran at it, and she's doing great.
Okay.
A little update on HPTA. The lights at Burns Field, I don't know if you guys knew, they were being retrofitted to LED lights. They're actually scheduled to be installed tomorrow on Valentine's Day. So that project will wrap up. Paddle's also completed all their skirting work around the courts. They've done some replacement of wood, painting of it, making it look nice. We have had several meetings also with Paddle about the expansion courts at KLM. Obviously, it came through Parks and Rec already. We've had a follow-up meeting since then, where planning has given them some direction and communication of what the next phases are, which includes some work that they have to do on their ends and applying for permits and applications. None of those have come in yet, but they're working with planning, and as it evolves, I'll keep you guys posted.
Are they gonna get built this summer in time for
You
the
know,
fall?
I don't have a timeline, and I don't think they even have a timeline yet, because they have to go through and provide some surveys and some information to the planning department to start the application process. So they're kind of waiting on.
Just try and help them as much as we can. I mean, they've been working on this for a year and a half.
No,
And-
I know they're in touch with planning. I mean, they're talking, and I think they had a meeting after talking with Bethany, it was last week. So.
Because
we will-
I honestly, I just have to, so just my personal opinion, I feel like we're roadblocking this one a little bit. And I do think that they are providing a service for us. I mean, they are paying for 100% of the cost of these. I understand there are all kinds of issues we have to look at, but it's our facility and they're paying for it. They're expanding it. Programming has skyrocketed. It's a service that's benefiting, you know, that's very, and they've been working on it for a year and a half and we can't get it through. Like, it's just been
I know
going
the
on and on.
process.
So I know their goal was to get them built this summer in time for fall. So, you know, if there's something that we can do to help move that forward, they've been calling me because it's not going anywhere. They feel like they are just not getting the support, and I don't know why.
I mean, yeah, we'll follow up. We'll give updates. I know the process they're going through with planning is the same process that anybody would be going through this building. All the same asks, all the same permits.
Right? This is not their first rodeo, and it's not our first rodeo with them. We asked them to take this on for us because we used to run this program, and it was a thorn in our side. My God, how many meetings? The heaters broke down again, the lighting didn't work, and, you know, so if there's any way that we can help push this forward and make sure that it progresses, let's try and do that. Thank you.
Yep. Holiday registrations, I just kind of have a brief update here from our holiday events. So we wrote exactly 210 letters to Santa, personalized to each kid. We had 550 patrons at Winter Wonderland at KLM, 150 people at Pizza with Santa, 113 people at Pizza with Lunch. One mom actually came in, was so happy that we wrote a letter, brought us a huge care basket downstairs saying thank you.
Awesome.
Special.
Awesome.
And then the last thing I really have on here is the ice rink. Not that we didn't want to put it up, the weather just was not cooperative with us this year. So that is not going to unfortunately happen this year, but since we did buy the ice rink liner, we're able to use that next year. It hasn't been used, and we won't be using those funds for an ice rink liner this year. And that is really all I have, unless someone has any questions.
Great job.
Yeah, great update.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
very
updates
tremendous.
were really wonderful. It's so nice to get all the detailed information together and see the plans and see the progress. So really, I thought it was great. Thank you. Good job.
Fantastic.
And let's call it a night. It's been a long one. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Do we really have to roll call this one? Okay, well,
Commissioner Barath,
Aye.
Commissioner Hester,
Aye.
Commissioner Keen,
Yeah, all right.
Commissioner Rooney.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much.